Oh boy, it is not looking good for Blake Lively. Justin Baldoni and his lawyers have a couple of words to say to Blake, and that is, you are lying. After Blake Lively's lawsuit came out allegedly exposing Justin of harassment and misconduct, he and his team clapped back 48 hours later, saying that's not what happened and we have the receipts to prove it. Ever since Justin filed his lawsuit against Blake and her claims, it has been hit after hit for Blake, Ryan Reynolds, and everyone else involved. Justin is releasing text messages and behind-the-scenes footage, and according to his lawyers, they're not even close to done.
Are you going to sue Blake Lively too?
Into oblivion.
I'm getting beard on you today.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Scandalous Media. It's Alana here, and just as promised, this is part 2 of the whole lawsuit saga, Justin Baldoni edition. At first, we posted part 1, Blake Lively edition, where we read the 80-page lawsuit and summarized exactly what Blake's main argument was. We posted that video first so you can get an understanding of what Blake's argument is, because Justin's lawsuit is counter-arguing all of her claims. You guys know this video will be long enough, so without further ado, let's start. Make sure to give this video a like and subscribe, and put those post notifications on so you never miss a live chat and you can watch the videos with us. Also excited to present to you guys our videos in podcast form, both on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, so go check us out. What does the lawsuit state? The first lawsuit was Justin Baldoni alongside Jamie Heath, Wayfarer Studios, and his publicist, all suing the New York Times, aka the publication that first ran Blake's story. The second lawsuit is Justin suing Blake and Ryan Reynolds, and that's where we get the Game of Thrones reference, the Taylor Swift drama, and more incriminating text messages that we will later get into. The first lawsuit is Justin saying that the Times worked with Blake to cherry-pick evidence and purposefully not give the full story to make him and his associates look bad. Justin says that when the Times was going to run its story, they had asked him and his associates to confirm if there were any inaccuracies in Blake's story, and they had responded by saying that Blake's side wasn't true and that they were critical of the Times and Blake for running with her unverified and self-serving narrative. Justin's lawsuit accuses the Times of working with Blake for weeks or even months to get her narrative out there. They say that instead of waiting to publish their story at noon as they claimed, they rushed to get it out there 2 hours earlier at 10 a.m. They also said that Blake chose to not file a lawsuit against any of the parties, but only file a request for a right to sue letter with the California Civil Rights Department. This filing spared her from the discovery process, which does not require pleadings and remains confidential unless leaked as it was here. They say that Blake's letter could turn into a lawsuit, but that wasn't her main concern. Her main concern was looking legit, so she filed a complaint. But as we know now, it has turned into a lawsuit. The alleged smear campaign. The first argument that Justin's lawsuit goes after is the smear campaign. As we recalled in part 1, Blake showed text messages that showed Justin Baldoni and his team talking about wanting to bury Blake, had their connections with the media, and how they were willing to push less favorable moments out there of hers and more. Justin's team denies doing any of this by showing their version of text message proof. Melissa Nathan writes to the team about how Blake's bot team is at work writing positive comments about her that don't make sense. Justin replies, "How can we say, somehow, that we are not doing any of this? It looks like we are trying to take her down." Melissa says, "It doesn't. They are doing all of this themselves, and it's really obvious." Justin then tells her to keep monitoring it as he is worried about it looking like they're planting stories, which is not true. Jennifer Abel chimes in to say that this is a PR play on their side and is a minority voice compared to the thousands and thousands of supporters, and that people are only reacting to Blake's actions and interviews. Jennifer does the classic PR help, saying that the fans are tired of this drama and that they should try moving on and look at the bigger picture. That Justin should focus on things like being back home, family, and Wayfarer Studios, that way it helps both him and Blake's narrative. They also provide text messages of someone sending in an article from The Hollywood Reporter praising Blake, saying, "It ends with us, Sony chief praises Blake Lively for advancing the conversation around DV," and Jamie Heath, the producer and CEO of Wayfarer Studios, says, "So glad Blake was praised. Let her get a win. It would be nice to have a Sony executive praise Justin." Justin's lawsuit says that Blake manipulated the text messages shown to make it seem like a smear campaign was set against her. In Blake's lawsuit, she shows a text exchange between Melissa and Jennifer sending an article titled, "Could Blake Lively be cancelled?" by the Daily Mail, in which Jennifer says, "Wow, you outdid yourself with this," and Melissa says, "That's why you hired me, right? I'm the best." But Justin's lawsuit claims that Melissa sent the Daily Mail article to someone, and someone said, "Cancelled? The Mail is going nuts." And Melissa wrote, "Damn, this is so unfair because it's also not me. Everything now looks like it's me." And the person replied saying, "No, it totally does look like his side." That part wasn't in Blake's lawsuit, only the next part, which was the whole text exchange of "you outdid yourself with this piece," which in context looks like Jennifer is just trolling and Melissa is playing along. They say that Blake made Jennifer's tone look serious by not including the emoji, which shows her being sarcastic. The lawsuit goes into detail destroying the Times for cherry-picking evidence about the smear campaign and showed another text exchange between a TMZ reporter and Melissa Nathan sharing a Daily Mail link about Blake's interview with Kirsty Flaw, and Melissa saying, "Also WTF, why am I in this too?" When it comes to Blake's promotion of the movie, she was immensely trolled for how she went about things. In part 1, we read in detail the requirements for promoting the film, which was specific and clear that it was to be promoted in a lighthearted way. Blake's lawsuit said that Justin was on board with the promo for the film until he realized he fell out with everyone and started to promote it mainly focusing on DV, unlike the rest of the cast. In Justin's lawsuit, he counters this claim by showing text messages of his PR team discussing how Blake is going about things. Someone writes, "We didn't tell Jed to go after the idea that her promo was inappropriate. That happened organically, because people saw the actual movie and were like, wait, this is a movie about DV, that they wore florals too? Zoe sent me this on Saturday and said, this is a crazy way to market this movie." Another text message of, "We had nothing to do with that about Blake's promo." The lawsuit states, "Far from being the product of a calculated smear campaign by plaintiffs, the backlash against Lively was the inevitable fallout of her own tone-deaf messaging and self-promotional tactics, amplified by her inability to read the room in addressing such a serious subject."
Yikes.
Justin sends Melissa a Perez Hilton TikTok that states someone from Justin's team instructed her to make a video about it and go in a Team Justin way. He says, "This is not us, correct? Assuming the guy we brought in would never do this?" Melissa says, "None of us would ever do this, and that nobody cares about Perez Hilton, he's just a troll." She says, "There is not one outlet that would ever cover anything he said or take it seriously. I think as well, there is this struggle where it's kind of maybe even unbelievable the way that people are turning against her, but they are. Organically. It's organic, she's blown herself up by her own actions." Another message of them sending each other more articles about Blake's past that was dug up. Melissa is saying they didn't know about this, but once the media goes in, they go in. And she reassures Justin that Blake has handed it to them all on a plate. Another hit at the smear campaign narrative is a text exchange between Blake's publicist Leslie Sloan and a reporter named James. Leslie says, "I know you are friends with Melissa. I am not paid to take people down, I'm honest." He goes, "She hasn't done anything literally anti-Blake. She told me the same thing that she told you, which is she said that Blake's backlash is organic." Leslie says, "It's not. She did nothing but help get a movie to make tons of money. Justin makes tons." James says, "She was kind of promoting it as if it was Barbie." Now, we already spoke about the promo of the film and how there were rules and suggestions on how to go about it. James wasn't someone on set, he's a Daily Mail reporter, and like the rest of us, he also thought Blake's promo was too Barbie-like. The counterback claim of the alleged essay that took place on set. The biggest bombshell in Blake's lawsuit was that she was accusing Justin of sexually harassing her. She was also accusing the same for Jamie and accusing the studio for not giving her proper work conditions. Here's how Justin's lawsuit goes against this claim. They bring up Leslie Sloan, aka Blake's publicist, who is telling James, the Daily Mail reporter, that the whole cast doesn't like Justin and it has nothing to do with Blake. The text exchange between Leslie and James is her bashing Melissa, calling Stephanie Jones a liar, and talking about the issue on set, which was that nobody liked Justin. James sends a message to Melissa and says, "She said the whole cast hates Justin. This has nothing to do with Blake, and now she's saying that Blake was SA'd. Why wouldn't she say anything about that then?" James says, "You can see that Leslie bashes Melissa, tries to get me to say that Melissa was planting stories and bad-mouthing Blake. Never once did she mention anything about the sexual harassment." The Daily Mail reporter also says that Leslie has a history of lying. James says, "Many times she gives us information and then her client gets mad and then she comes back and says that she never gave it to us and it's a lie. I had many conversations with her about Blake and never once did she mention anything about SA. I had a 3-way call with her and Melissa and she never said anything about it then either." Combating the claim of SA, they show text messages between a TMZ reporter and Melissa saying that People magazine ran a story about the cast and crew hating Justin, but not to worry about it since TMZ was told that they actually find him to be a nice guy. The TMZ reporter is claiming that the drama is being milked for publicity and that the main issue with Blake and Justin was creative differences, and even that wasn't as big as people have been reporting. The main issue was Blake's huge ego. Melissa says to TMZ, "Do you have sources? Blake Lively's camp keeps thinking it's us placing and we are doing it all. They say, yes, on production. They've had a producer working overtime and spoke to people on production in post." Then it gets a little more interesting because she goes, "Wait till I tell you the whole story. You have no idea. You think you do not. In my whole career, I've never come across this situation." To which the TMZ person replies back, "But why aren't people saying the real story if known?" When it comes to Blake's lawsuit, there were a couple of text messages between Justin's PR team who were applauding themselves for shutting down HR complaints. Many people who read the lawsuit thought the HR complaint that they shut down were about SA. They then try and counter that point by showing an email from TMZ asking them about that. The TMZ person says, "We are being told that there were at least 3 HR complaints filed against Justin Baldoni on the set of It Ends With Us. We wanted to see if the complaints were investigated and what the results were, thank you." Side note, it's so interesting to see how PR teams work behind closed doors. Like, the celebrity is truly just the face, but they have a whole team doing the work behind closed doors that we never even think about. A reporter texts the tag team, aka the PR people, and says, "A source close to the set says that they didn't know of an investigation, but there was an intervention. We heard that there were multiple HR complaints from crew and cast, starting with the first day of production. It's unclear if Wayfarer performed an investigation into the claims against themselves separately. We are aware there was an intervention with Justin Baldoni midway through production based on a pattern of inappropriate behavior by him towards cast and crew." The tag team responded saying, "Off record, the only complaint, which was not confirmed if it was an official HR complaint, was a guy up for a gig on the crew. Complained that a younger guy got it and did so because of ageism. There was an investigation and they found no wrongdoing. There was not an intervention on set or with members of the crew. Blake and Ryan had Justin and his team over for a meeting where Blake expressed all the things she was upset about." Justin's lawsuit also clocks back at what Blake had said when it came to showing her pornographic content. If you recall, in Blake's lawsuit, she says that Jamie Heath showed her a video that she thought was porn, but it was actually his wife giving birth. Blake described the encounter as disturbing, but Jamie says there was nothing pornographic about the video, as it was a video that was personal and had no sexual overtone. They even provided a still of the video referenced. Contributing to the sexual harassment narrative, the New York Times echoes the claim that both men frequently entered Blake's trailer uninvited while she was undressed, including on occasions when she was breastfeeding. What Justin's lawsuit shows is that Blake is the one who invited him into her trailer while she was breastfeeding. Blake texts Justin, "I'm just pumping in my trailer if you want to work out our lines." Justin says, "Copy, eating with the crew and we'll head that way." This rebuttal shows that there was a lot of missing context in Blake's lawsuit. In Blake's lawsuit, she recalls a time when Justin was objectifying her by wanting to make her look sexier, but in Justin's lawsuit, he shows a text of Blake saying that she wanted to make her character look more sexier. She says, "We'll show you both ways, but Beanie is much sexier. It's the look, feels TV without, especially with a crop top in the snow, and also is a girl I would check out walking down the street because it washes the effort of the rest of the look." They go back and forth about what they need to shoot and what angle they need to get, and she tells him, "I was wondering about not having that shot, but kept to myself." And he says, "By the way, if you're ever wondering if we have a shot or need one, I don't ever feel it's overstepping if you bring it up to me." In these little moments, it shows that Justin wasn't trying to close in on Blake, at least when it came to taking her opinion on how they can make the movie together. Another mention from Blake's lawsuit was the improvised unwanted kissing scenes and Justin discussing his sex life. Justin's lawsuit says the Times and Blake deliberately left out that Blake refused to meet with the intimacy coordinator to plan the film's sex scenes. This left Justin to meet with the coordinator alone and pass along any suggestions to Blake separately. Despite Justin's hesitation, he and Blake later worked on the scenes together without the intimacy coordinator. During these creative discussions, they aimed to develop their characters by sharing personal experiences. The Times, relying on Blake's complaint, wrongfully frames this as Justin inappropriately discussing his sex life, but that wasn't the case. Justin proves this claim by sending a producer a screenshot of him and Blake talking about the intimacy coordinator. Blake says she'll meet her when they start filming. Justin tells the producer, "Just wanted to tell you about this. Seems she doesn't want to meet with the intimacy coordinator until we start, which may mess up the workflow, but I could still meet with her." The producer tells him, "That's fine if she doesn't want to meet her now. You'll just have to walk her through what you and the intimacy coordinator are thinking." If you watch part 1 of Blake's version of the story, you'll see how important this intimacy coordinator was to her story. Blake said that there must always be an intimacy coordinator around so that Justin doesn't make up his own scenes and or possibly engage in harassing her by acting out of character or not properly conducting a sex scene. Justin says that's funny because you left me to see her one-on-one before filming, which led Justin to conduct intimate scenes with Blake based on what the coordinator said rather than meeting with her together before filming. Justin's lawsuit reiterates that Blake's main issue was her wanting to take over control of the movie, and that after the team signed the return to productions list, she had said she had no complaints about either party. Justin's team also released the behind-the-scenes video of when Blake alleged that Justin put his lips to her neck and said it smelled so good, and how he was acting out of character because it was a montage that was supposed to be silent and he didn't need to talk to her. In the behind-the-scenes video, we see not only is it not as silent as Blake portrayed the scene, but she and Justin are laughing and discussing how to go about the scene. He tells her he's probably getting beard on her, she laughs and says she's probably getting spray tan on him, and he says it smells good, and she tells him it's her body makeup.
I'm not getting beard on you today.
I'm probably getting spray tan on you.
It smells good.
Well, it's not bad. It's my body makeup.
It was a pretty professional conversation, and after they were done, he yelled cut and walked off.
Alright, cut.
People also made note to say that in the behind-the-scenes footage, Blake seemed to be talking way too much about what they should do and what they shouldn't do, and how overly controlling she seemed about how the character should act.
This is on the marks, and I think the light is behind you a little bit.
I think the better one's behind me.
Oh, okay.
Blake steals the movie from Justin. Justin's lawsuit argues that Blake is the one putting a smear campaign against him, and the only reason she is retaliating this way is because she got exposed by her own actions and got exposed for stealing the movie away from him, aka the director who bought the rights for the film. Justin's production company Wayfarer Studios secured the film's rights to the novel in partnership with Sony Pictures. So it's a pretty big deal that he had to give up creative control and whatnot for Blake, the lead actress who got a producing credit just to say she has one. Justin's lawsuit shows that Sony sided with Blake over producing and cutting the film. He shows a text between him and his editor saying, "Just curious if you guys have peeked at her cut and if anything has changed." Editor number 2 says, "I have just been told that we are not permitted to look." He says, "When did that happen?" And editor number 1 says, "As per Sony." He then says, "The editors and the director aren't allowed to look at an actress's cut. Got it. We will keep taking the high road."
Wow.
A few days later, Justin says to his editor, "Thanks for checking in," and that the best path forward spiritually and what's best for the movie is that he sucks it up and lets her in. This proves that she was overstepping her role in the film, and he felt like he had no other option but to let her. She overstepped so much that the editors couldn't see the cut, and they needed to reassure Justin that the last they heard, she was putting back a fair amount of our version, just not sure what that entailed or to what extent. I guess you'll find out.
What?
Blake kicks Justin out of promotional events for the film so that she can use the promo as a way to get her cut out there. Justin provides text messages with his publicist about it, saying, "She's kicked me out officially from the film now. She's finishing it all. I can't be involved." Justin texts his editor saying, "They are showing it at a book bonanza." They say, "The whole movie?" He goes, "Yeah, hers. Was supposed to be ours, and then I was uninvited. The whole thing is pretty cruel and intense." Having two lead actors cutting their own version of the film and then playing who's got the better connections to release it is so messed up and doesn't happen often. It kind of shows you how big your ego has to be to do something like this, which is typically not done. I'm not really sure who would want to work with Blake after hearing how she acts.
Good thing she don't get paid for thinking.
Justin says, "For the record, she's been getting what she wants this entire movie, and she's getting to edit, which is what she wants. Let's remember that." Blake's demands were so intense that Jamie said he and Justin both felt trapped into writing her a letter from Wayfarer Studios about her getting a PGA mark, which is a certification mark given to producers who have met certain standards for a specific film. Jamie emailed everyone ahead of the letter being sent to warn them that the reason he was sending it was because she was holding threats over their heads. He writes, "Essentially the movie, It Ends With Us, has been taken unjustly from Justin as a director and essentially from Wayfarer's control due to the extortion of Blake." Without going into all the details of the events that have transpired over the months, Justin and I ended up agreeing to write the letter due to feeling trapped. She continues to hold a threat over our heads, and every time we try and hold the line, she uses that threat either directly or indirectly to get us to fold.
How that is, I have no idea, but interesting.
What sucks about this whole thing is that after years of having the rights to make this film and developing it, when it did come out, Justin was not able to fully celebrate the release of the film. According to his lawsuit, Blake didn't even want him at the premiere, but after a lot of pushback, Blake eventually allowed him and his team to attend, but under disrespectful circumstances. They were kept separate from the main cast, excluded from the after party, and had to host their own event at their own expense. Justin's red carpet time was cut short, and his friends and family were treated poorly, being placed in a basement holding area and then moved to a separate theater after Blake had left. Blake not only sidelined Justin from decisions about the film, but also took away his ability to fully celebrate the film. In part 1 of the Blake video, we talk about how it was Blake's idea to exclude Justin and the cast from promoting together. His team said that they needed a way to explain why Justin wasn't with them. Blake used this to make it look like his team was ready to spread lies about why he wasn't with them, when in reality it was her ego that kicked him out from joining. Justin tells his publicist, "Just find ways to keep me busy when she gets everyone together. Obviously, if the whole cast is making content together, that's her trying to clue people onto there being an issue. Everything she does is calculated, yet also manic." It really must be karma, because if the whole cast, including Justin, did promo together, then maybe none of this would have come out. I mean, the It Ends With Us cast is not the first cast to have issues on a movie set, or to even hate each other, but usually all that unprofessionalism gets hidden by the crew and the publicist. Blake kicking Justin out and making fans start poking holes into the story is what started her downfall in the first place.
It's what she deserves.
Justin says she doesn't want to be the bad guy, so she'll find a way to say it without saying it, meaning if the whole cast is cool with her but not him, then clearly he's the problem. His publicist says, "And that's why we stay ahead of it," and he responds by saying, "Attempting to rewrite history, and like I'm not the one who developed this and spent 5 years trying to make it, and like there's an issue with me. It's just mean and hurtful, and she knows exactly what she's doing." His saying, "and there's an issue with me," clues us in on how personal Blake and Ryan took their attack against Justin. Some theorize it's because Blake caught feelings for Justin, and Ryan was so pissed he made sure to go after him. Let's not forget to mention Ryan playing Nicepool, aka his character, where he takes massive digs at Justin for having a man bun and long hair, being a feminist, and even making condescending remarks to Ladypool, aka Blake Lively, about her figure after giving birth.
My calling is to one day host a podcast that monetizes the women's movement. Oh my goodness, wait till you see Ladypool. She is gorgeous. She just had a baby too, and can't even tell. I don't think you're supposed to say that. That's okay. I identify as a feminist.
Blake Lively did this at the end of the credits for It Ends With Us. They left an Easter egg. So here we go. These are the ends of the credits for It Ends With Us, and you'll see right there, it says Gordon Reynolds. They're thanking a special thanks to Gordon Reynolds. She thanks Austin Swift, she thanks Taylor Swift, and she thanks Gordon Reynolds. And when you look up who Gordon Reynolds is, it's, and I will now show you the end credits for Deadpool, it's Nicepool.
Justin was so stressed behind the scenes that he got hospitalized and sent his editors a photo, and they told him to take care of himself. Justin does seem genuine about his advocacy for women when he texts that the number of women who feel seen because of the movie and the men who are reflecting on their own trauma and talking to their partners about it is the main goal, and he's happy for that. Justin's editors didn't go to the movie because they thought he wasn't going to be able to come. When he found out he would be able to come and it would just have to be at a different time and area, they still didn't want to come because they felt so disrespected. They said, "It would be very hard for me to sit and watch the final film for the first time at the premiere. Just cheer for us when our names come up." Blake's alleged ego is what ruined the entire movie and her relationship with Justin. The lawsuit details exactly when Blake took control and how. December 31, 2022, Blake signs on to take the lead as Lily Bloom. She was granted an executive producer credit based on her status. In this context, it suggests that the title was more honorary or symbolic, acknowledging her status in the industry rather than reflecting significant behind-the-scenes contributions to the production. By May 15, 2023, Blake started to take over the wardrobe. The lawsuit states that it's common for lead actors to have approval over the general look for their on-screen characters, but not common to start getting full control of the wardrobe without input from the director and other producers. And we already know that Blake was so proud to say she used her own clothes or borrowed some from her famous A-lister friends.
Those are my real life boots. A lot of it's my real life clothes or my husband's clothes or my girlfriend Gigi's clothes. I was borrowing some.
The outfits were so bad that it was actually one of the reasons that pushed me from watching the film. The entire look is manic and messy, and I don't know how to describe it, but the wardrobe is so bad, it looks like the person in charge is a 12-year-old living out a fan fiction come to life. Her getting trolled for them is exactly what she deserves. She was difficult to deal with, having the costume designer reshop all her wardrobe based on hundreds of inspo pictures she sent, and Justin said Blake wanted Lily to be dressed in expensive clothes, but he had to remind her that Lily Bloom is a struggling business owner, and no, she can't afford $5,000 shoes. She also refused to participate in wardrobe fittings at the production office, which was a mere 15 minutes away from her Tribeca residence. Instead, she insisted the costume department pack up the wardrobe and deliver all her items to her. In Blake's lawsuit, she says that the paparazzi snapped photos of Blake looking funny as hell in her funny clothing, and Justin came to her trailer and had a meltdown crying about her looks and delaying filming. Justin's lawsuit says that after the paparazzi caught Blake looking funny as hell, he was criticized by Sony, who voiced concerns about the impact of the photos on the film's public perception. This is real, because when I saw photos of Blake filming It Ends With Us almost 2 years ago, I couldn't understand what I was seeing. I was like, why does this hobo look like Blake Lively? Oh wait, that hobo is Blake Lively.
Oh my god.
Sony's telling Justin, get your movie under control, why is your lead actress dressed in military gear? And he goes and has a professional conversation with Blake. The lawsuit states, Baldoni approached Lively in her trailer to discuss necessary wardrobe adjustments. The conversation, while professional, took considerable time and was later grossly misrepresented in Lively's CRD complaint, falsely categorizing the exchange as a lengthy outburst that delayed filming and caused the crew to wait for hours while Baldoni cried in Lively's dressing room. This account, later published by The Times, is false. Although Baldoni did briefly tear up during the conversation, it was in response to what he believed was a genuine compliment from Lively, praising his work as a director and actor. In hindsight, Baldoni recognized this as a manipulation tactic likely intended to persuade him to continue allowing her unchecked control over wardrobe decisions. She fought so hard to look like this. Suddenly, Blake starts to rewrite the script. She tells everyone that Ryan Reynolds rewrote the iconic rooftop scene where the characters Ryan and Lily first meet. When Blake admitted that, it was a first for Justin and everyone on set. Even the screenwriter was like, oh, yeah, I guess what Ryan did was wonderful? The cast and crew found out that Ryan rewrote the script the same time the public did, and when Sony contacted Justin saying, "What's this we hear about people rewriting scripts in our movie who were unauthorized to do so?" Justin's studio sends them an email back saying they had no idea Ryan even touched the script. After that, Blake starts altering the script daily.
What?
The lawsuit said that when Blake started changing the script daily, it worried the producers, director, and the studio. They feared her constant revisions would continue throughout filming, disrupting the tightly planned schedule and adding stress to the crew and extra costs. This is where Blake gets Ryan even more involved. We know a little bit about Blake getting outsiders involved now, since Justin later provided documents in his other lawsuit about how Blake invited him over and peer pressured him to approve a scene she rewrote by getting Ryan and Taylor Swift to boast about it. He texts her later saying he would have approved the scene even without Ryan and Taylor there. The lawsuit says that weeks later, Ryan had angrily confronted Justin at their New York penthouse, accusing him of fat-shaming Blake. To avoid more conflict with Blake and Ryan and to repair his relationship with her, Justin went along with her demands. Justin's lawsuit recalls the controversial asking of Blake's weight because of a lift scene that needed to be done. Justin says that he asked the trainer who he met through Blake how much she weighed because he had back issues and didn't want to injure himself. The trainer told Blake, who told Ryan, who according to this lawsuit, berated Justin, making him repeatedly apologize to Blake. Ryan said to Justin, "How dare you f***ing ask about my wife's weight? What's wrong with you?" Following this incident, Blake refused to perform the lift scene, even though it had already been rehearsed with a stunt double. She then wrote in her lawsuit that there was no lift scene, even though there was, it was just cut out of the film. The lawsuit says Lively threatened to quit the production altogether despite her contractual obligations. Lively gave Baldoni an ultimatum to either cast someone else or work with her in the way she works. It was her way or the highway. Recasting would be detrimental to production, sever Wayfair's relationship with Sony, and cost millions. To highlight the effects of masterful gaslighting, Baldoni and Wayfarer also believed that in an effort to save herself from the backlash of being recast, Lively could leak that she felt fat-shamed by Baldoni, which he thought would ruin his career. Notably, it appears he was not wrong, and despite his efforts to do everything her way, she still tried, continues to try, and arguably did, with the help of the Times, ruin his career, reputation, and well-being. Then, when the writing strike happened, it put a pause on everything. When it was time to get back to production, Blake allegedly sets the stage for coercion by drafting a protection letter that intentionally misrepresents the nature of the conversations had between Baldoni and/or Heath, and she demands them to sign on it. Some of the things she was demanding were already being done, so the studio didn't have an issue with it, but other things she was demanding were things she wasn't even helping with, like demanding an intimacy coordinator to be there at all times, but not wanting to meet with her either. Remember, she made a huge deal about the intimacy coordinator not being there, and therefore Justin was allowed to run rampant with sex scenes that he was making up. But as we stated earlier, she didn't want to meet with the intimacy coordinator, which according to the lawsuit, put Baldoni in the awkward position of meeting with the intimacy coordinator alone and later relaying sex scene suggestions to Lively in the intimacy coordinator's absence. Blake tried to use this as him adding scenes spontaneously. The lawsuit details many of Blake's hypocrisy, such as being offended by the use of the word sexy, even though she had used that word very early on to describe her character's outfit. When Justin remarked that she should take her jacket off to show her onesie and that it would be sexy, Blake got offended and Justin immediately apologized for offending her, even though he was using the same wording Blake had previously used. In my The Downfall of Blake Lively video, we do talk about how Blake has a personality where she seems to be easily offended over things that she finds okay to say to others, but not for others to say to her. Even in this moment where Justin compliments her and Ryan's relationship and calls them cute, she gives a weird response saying, "I think it's more than cute," and he looks a little thrown off guard and then says, "I think it's amazing."
Oh, I think that's cute. You guys are really cute.
I think it's more than cute.
They won the Stanley Cup.
I think it's amazing.
Yeah.
In a popular theory, people believe that Blake caught feelings for Justin, and when he didn't reciprocate them or when Ryan got involved, things got bad. I feel like her annoyance at his remark about them being cute makes sense if she did catch feelings, because she got weirdly protective and projected on him, almost like she was being called out. More of Blake's hypocrisy that was detailed in the lawsuit is when she said that Justin and Jamie Heath often walked into her trailer uninvited while she was breastfeeding or topless. The lawsuit states that every time they were there, they were both invited by Blake and she wasn't topless. The lawsuit states, Mr. Heath arrived first to see if Lively was ready for the meeting, and after knocking and being invited in, saw that Lively was breastfeeding. She was not topless. Heath asked if they should return at a later time. Lively said no, they could move forward with the meeting as initially planned. Roughly 2 weeks later, Lively announced she thought that she had seen Heath making eye contact with her. Heath immediately apologized and said he hadn't even realized he looked her way, in response to which Lively remarked, "I know you weren't trying to cop a look." The lawsuit also makes it very clear that they only signed onto Blake's list of demands because she wasn't planning on coming back if they didn't. By the time Wayfarer received the protections for return to production document, Wayfarer had invested millions of dollars, completed half the film with Lively as the lead, and incurred substantial costs in preparation to resume production. In Justin's lawsuit where he sues Blake and Ryan, we get to see more of the work these two are doing behind the scenes. Justin sues Blake and Ryan for $400 million. Justin's lawsuit starts with, "The following is not a story plaintiffs ever wished to tell. Had Lively chosen to merely ride out the self-inflicted press catastrophe she faced in August 2024, the public would likely have moved on and never known the truth about her."
Girl, get up! Girl, get up! Girl,
The lawsuit says that Blake couldn't tolerate her public image tainted even for a moment, and she couldn't accept that her downfall was entirely of her own making and that she needed a scapegoat. The lawsuit says that Blake wanted Justin and Wayfarer to read a statement she and her representatives prepared, wanting them to take accountability in defense of Blake's tone-deaf actions during the movie's release. Ryan and Blake's talent agency sent them a statement to read and take the blame, and if they didn't, the gloves would come off. Of course, Blake didn't have a good relationship with them after all she did when they were filming the movie, so they refused to take accountability for her tone-deaf actions. It was there where she allegedly waited for months preparing to attack Justin by claiming that he sexually harassed her. The lawsuit said that both Ryan, Blake, and Leslie knew calling someone a sexual predator was a career death sentence in waiting, and they didn't care, they just needed a scapegoat to save Blake's career. But what they didn't anticipate was that Justin and his associates had concrete evidence to disprove her claims. So I'm going to go through what he exposes about Blake because Justin's two lawsuits go hand in hand, and it's a repeat of the same things, just in more detail. He exposes Blake's need for control, saying that Blake told him she felt like he had too much power, being both the director and the producer. The statement sat with Justin the moment she said it, but he reassured her that it would be a collaborative effort. Then he exposed that Blake hadn't even read the book. He texts Jamie Heath, "While I understand Blake's reasons for not wanting to read the book does a very good job in getting in Lily's mind during her interactions with Ryle. According to this lawsuit, Wayfarer learned that Blake had a reputation for being difficult to work with, but Justin defended her as he found her to be genuine. Not only did Blake not meet with the intimacy coordinator, but she didn't want to meet with No More, aka a DV organization that the film was donating 1% to in support of survivors of DV. And she didn't want to meet with people who spoke about DV and how to talk about it to the press, which is why she seemed extremely unrelatable to a character who has been through something serious. Now here's where theories come in about Blake developing feelings for Justin. The theory is popular and it goes in 3 ways. A. Blake acted out because Justin didn't feel the same way towards her. B. Ryan Reynolds felt like these two were getting suspiciously close, and in a desperate attempt to save herself, Blake started telling Ryan that her relationship with Justin is nothing and that he actually makes her uncomfortable. Or C. Both. Now, I'm gonna add a 4th option to be safe and say maybe it's neither. Maybe Ryan and Blake are just 2 huge megastars with egos so big they couldn't think straight. The reason why people think Blake caught feelings for Justin, or they both caught a little feelings for each other, is because the lawsuit says, in the beginning, it appeared that Baldoni and Lively would have a positive, collaborative, creative partnership. Baldoni and Lively worked closely in the early days of the film, trading ideas about filling key roles in the film's cast and crew. Their working relationship grew close. Baldoni and Lively shared stories and pictures from their lives, commiserated over family illnesses, and exchanged jokes and memes. Baldoni offered concern and support when Lively's family faced health concerns. They texted almost daily, and a friendly banter established a comfortable dynamic that under typical circumstances would have made working together easy. They were constantly together in the beginning. Who could this piss off? Ryan Reynolds. He knows a thing or two about him and Blake catching feelings for their co-stars. Ryan has dated his co-stars, and the same goes for Blake. In fact, it is believed that Ryan and Blake cheated on their significant others, who were also co-stars, when they got together. I explained Blake and Ryan's controversial timeline more in the Downfall of Blake video. It doesn't help squash out this theory of feelings being caught, especially after Justin sent Blake a voice note at 2 a.m. He was very apologetic towards her and super kind.
Hey, Blake. It is 2 in the morning. Hopefully this does not wake you up. I'm just gonna send you a few thoughts, and hopefully it's not gonna be more than a few minutes, but I don't have the best track record. I don't think either one of us have the best track record for our voice memos. I want to start with an apology. Reading the second part of your message, my heart sank. I'm really sorry. I just want to say thank you for sharing that with me. That takes a lot of trust. I feel really grateful that you feel safe enough to tell me that that's how you feel. I'm just excited to spend time with you. I'm excited to be in your sphere and your presence, and for us to share creative juices, spending time together. I think that's gonna really go a long way for our chemistry, which I believe is there, and has been there from the start. So I was so damn excited when you wanted to do this film. I felt it in the room when we met, and
Blake and Ryan have an issue when it comes to leaving each other's projects alone. Originally, when it came to rewriting scenes, Blake told everyone she wanted to rewrite a key scene in the movie, which was the rooftop scene. The draft of the rooftop scene that Lively sent Baldoni dramatically differed from what had been written originally. Baldoni was hesitant about many of the changes, but thanked Lively for her passion and diplomatically told her that the scene would likely end up being somewhere between the original version and Lively's version. Blake was stung by his mild resistance that she didn't answer him for several days and went silent. She told him it didn't feel great to be praised for her passion instead of specific contribution, and said that Taylor Swift agreed.
I f***ed up. That is a fail on my part. One thing you should know about me is I will admit and apologize when I fail. I'm sorry I made you feel that way. That must have felt terrible. I will for sure do better. That was not my best weekend.
Speaking of Taylor, she got slightly dragged into this mess when Justin was invited to Blake and Ryan's penthouse, and Ryan was praising Blake's version of the script, and hours later Taylor came in and praised the same script. I already made a short video about this, so go check it out and go laugh at Blake's Game of Thrones dragons reference. Blake's text showed Justin that he wasn't dealing with just her, he was dealing with her dragons, aka her little guardian angels, who are 2 of the most influential and wealthy celebrities in the world.
And damn right, you got great friends if that's how you felt and they knew that, and the 3 of you guys together is unbelievable. Talk about energy and just a force, all 3 of you.
But Taylor made sure to clock out real quick saying, "Yeah, this little drama got nothing to do with me, sorry Blake." And like I said in my downfall video, Taylor isn't taking any bullets for Blake. And Blake, who would rather be on Taylor's good side than bad, won't ruin their friendship over it, even though it has to sting seeing your little dragon throwing you off to fend for yourself. The reason why people think Ryan is involved, besides the obvious, is because Blake seemed to be very sweet to Justin in the beginning, telling him things like, "The moment that excited me most the other day was when you said you're not funny. You are going to kill that rooftop scene, please know. I trust that on this day you've got me, and I hope that you trust I've got you if you want it. We're in this together." She gets honest with him about the many times she's been screwed over behind the scenes and why people like Ryan and Taylor take charge and fire her up and are her backups. In Justin's voice note, we see that he refers to the people who took advantage of Blake's work as fuckheads.
Oh, and there's one thing that I do need to say. I am so sorry you have been through what you've been through with these other filmmakers and producers or whoever the people were that you worked with. It just pissed me off. Those
The venting session would be cute if it ended at that, but Blake took it too far, and someone like Taylor and Ryan, who are in their own leagues, shouldn't be prompting Blake to take control under the guise of self-defense. And when we find out that Ryan is the one who rewrote the rooftop scene and not Blake, well, it just shows you exactly the kind of people they are. When Blake expressed insecurity about her postpartum figure, Justin told her, "I want you to know you will look amazing. Anything you feel insecure about, we will talk through and get creative together and make you comfortable. I just don't want you to stress about your body, it's the last thing you need." Blake's response to him a day later was, "Thank you for your voice memo, it is deeply appreciated. You are everything you promised to be as a collaborator, thank you." His apology to her was so genuine, she wrote him a whole essay telling him she understands the need to be physically appealing for a movie role, and it would be problematic to think otherwise. She tells him she's gonna get super fit for the movie, and that both of them are gonna kill it, and be so fit they have to Lola us to look less bangin'. Justin was giving Blake too many rights on how to go about the film, one she did not need to have, and a producer complained to Jamie about it, and Jamie says they were talking about that and it's gonna get resolved. The producer says he cannot let her have opinions on everything. Justin's praise and appreciation of Blake's work could have easily been something that warmed up Blake's alleged feelings for him. I feel like he was being so nice, and every time she was very appreciative of him, verbalizing it. He said, "I'm not going to tell you that you're amazing today because you tease me for being so sentimental, but you were amazing today." She says, "Thank you, I do appreciate it. I'm just a ball buster, but it means a lot to me. I care a great deal." His lawsuit makes note that if Justin used the word ball buster, it would have been on her 17-point list. More things that coincide with the theory that feelings were developed. In Justin's lawsuit, it said that Blake was so close and comfortable with Justin that she freely breastfed in front of him during meetings and even took photos of him holding and soothing her crying baby. They laughed a ton during late-night writing sessions, they even wrote sex scenes together, and all of these things happened after the alleged sexual harassment. He even told her that he liked sentimental Blake, to which she responded back, teasing him with an inappropriate joke.
Blake Lively has been an A-list socialite and B-list actress, always on the scene up until she meets Ryan Reynolds. Doesn't have the best reputation. This woman is not well liked. Meets Ryan Reynolds, she's kind of not really out there. She's somewhat in the paparazzi pictures, sometimes with Taylor Swift, but she's not really in the limelight. She's constantly having babies. She's barefoot in a house in Connecticut, just doing her little lifestyle brand, all right, a little bit with her booze company, and just, you know, in the kitchen, where Ryan Reynolds, I think, secretly wants her to be.
But she takes this movie, and this is gonna be her way back in.
Starts working with Justin Baldoni, and because he's so kind, and because he's so perceptive, and because he really wants to work in a collaborative setting, he says, "Blake, I want to hear from you. I want to hear everything you want to tell me. I want every single one of your notes. Let's work together." And he really likes her as a person. He's kind, remember? And she's like, "Wow, he's amazing."
Feelings were developed on her end, not his, on her end. And I do believe he filled something for her. Shall we say something in her love tank? Ryan Reynolds is not America's sweetheart like he wants us to think he is. What if Ryan Reynolds looks at her phone and sees a text message about suppositories, just say? Late night texts and says, "What the is this? What is this, Blake?" And she says, he makes me uncomfortable. He's making me uncomfortable, and he's making me feel unsafe.
When she started taking control, Blake was so annoying to deal with that Wayfarer and Justin and the production team all had to collaborate on what to say back to her when she was asking for something unrightfully so. Blake wanted the dollies, aka the raw footage that typically the cast never sees or gets. She sends him this annoying and unnecessary text of how she wants to show her manager the raw footage. Justin sends it to his team saying, "Thoughts?" The producer says, "I'd say no, but check her contract first." Jamie says, "It's an absolute no for me as well, not sure the best way to respond being how delicate it is." The producer says, "I think you can either not respond until tomorrow, or say you need to talk to the team, or just say no, you're not comfortable with it." Jamie then says, "Maybe we could let this be a Sony decision." Justin even comes up with the idea to send her a playlist of a bunch of good takes to at least give her something. The producer says, "We all said no when you're gonna send," and he says he wasn't being clear, he meant to say that he will only send her the playlist. It's taking a whole SWAT team to find a way to not offend Blake. They are worried about giving Blake the raw footage because they're worried she will start to edit the whole movie if she has access to everything. Then he said this is exactly how the writing process started. Basically, you give Blake an inch and she takes a mile. Then, almost like dealing with a toxic boss, he sends him a reassuring text the next day saying, "Just talk to Blake, she's in very good spirits and seems happy about this. Very nice conversation." She does seem annoyed and stung by his jumping around the idea of sending her all the raw footage, as you can see here. When he tells her happy birthday and that he's excited to show her a raw scene and can't wait to show her more and they're excited to go back to production, she hits him and his team with the 17-point list demand. The lawsuit goes over every single point Blake put out and combats it with a version of the evidence I already showed you in this video. The meeting where the demands took place was equally as distasteful as both Ryan and Blake's actions. They stormed in together without anyone else and blindsided the rest of the team as Blake read her list out loud. Then Ryan launches into an aggressive attack berating Justin in what Justin referred to as a traumatic encounter, saying that he had never been spoken to like that in his life. Ryan demands that Justin apologize to Blake for all he's done, but Justin resisted apologizing for things he didn't do, which made Ryan get more angry. Everyone, including the producer Lively, had asked the production to engage, and the Sony representative left the meeting in shock. The producer said that in his 40-year career, he had never seen anyone speak to someone like that in a meeting. The Sony representative said later that she often thought of the meeting and her one regret was not intervening to stop Reynolds' tirade against Baldoni. Even after that meeting, Justin still approached Blake with respect and found days in which they could edit the movie together because Blake insisted she still work closely with Justin, even after claiming he made her uncomfortable. Now, this is one crazy story, and I'm gonna have to wrap it up here because this can get very long very fast. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and it made clear to you all of Justin's points and what his defenses were. After reading Justin's 2 lawsuits, I truly see the effort he put into making Blake feel welcomed and invited when it came to giving her directing rights and producing rights. Both his lawsuits, in my opinion, do make Blake's defense look fragile in comparison, and I think Blake acted in a way where she thought that she could get away with whatever she wanted, and if she didn't, then she had Dragon Ryan and Dragon Taylor to ambush their way through. It's good to see an A-list celebrity get a wake-up call so strong it rocks their world. Anyways, that's it for this video. Be sure to like and subscribe for more. Please tell us your thoughts down below. Make sure to check us out on Apple Podcast and Spotify to hear our videos in podcast form and await new things coming very soon for the podcast. Thanks, and I'll see you next time.